President, last Friday we observed the 48th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court decision that legalized abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy. It's a somber day every year as we contemplate the millions of lives lost to abortion since the Roe v. Wade decision. Mr. President, Gallup has been polling on abortion for decades. And if you look at the polling on the issue, one thing becomes clear. The majority of Americans do not believe in unrestricted abortion. Some believe that abortion should be completely illegal. Some believe abortion should be legal under certain circumstances. But the majority of Americans do not believe in unrestricted abortion. Why is that, Mr. President? Why, despite the best efforts of the far left, do the majority of Americans think there should be at least some restrictions on abortion? I suspect the answer is that every person knows on some level that when we're talking about abortion, we are talking about a baby, a human being. It's not rocket science, Mr. President. It's biology 101. Human moms and dads have human babies. Take one look at an ultrasound, at a baby girl sucking her thumb or a baby boy kicking his feet, and it's pretty hard to argue that that's just a clump of cells. And I believe that this is why, despite years of fierce abortion advocacy from the far left, the majority of Americans do not believe in unrestricted abortion because they know, Mr. President, the unborn child is a human being, and they know that human beings deserve to be protected, even when they're small and weak and vulnerable, especially when they're small and weak and vulnerable. The truth is, advocates of abortion are fighting an uphill battle. Now, it doesn't always feel like that. After all, they've got a lot of support from the entertainment industry and magazines and media outlets and Democrat politicians. The pro-abortion left has a lot of money. They've won too many victories, and too many babies have been killed. But despite their money and platform and advantage, in 48 years, advocates for abortion have not won their fight. They've not managed to convince anywhere close to a majority of Americans that abortion is an unqualified good and should be available unrestricted and on demand. And that is because, for all their advantages, they are fighting an unwinnable battle. Because they are fighting against reality. They are fighting against truth. They are fighting against science. And they are fighting against the knowledge that's written on every human heart, a truth that gets obscured but is hard to completely erase, and that is that every human being has value and deserves to be protected. Mr. President, last week I came down to the floor to praise President Biden's call for unity. And I suggested that one way he could show that commitment was by nominating individuals for key posts who represent a majority of Americans instead of the far left wing of his party. And I think that several of the President's nominations have demonstrated his commitment to unity. While perhaps not the people that I would have chosen, I believe that a number of his nominees will serve Americans well, and I have voted accordingly, casting votes in favor of President Biden's choice for Director of National Intelligence, Secretary of Defense, among others. But unfortunately, President Biden has also nominated some individuals who represent the extreme left of the Democrat Party rather than mainstream Americans. And nowhere is that more true than with his radically pro-abortion nominee for Secretary of Health and Human Services. As a member of the House of Representatives, Xavier Becerra accumulated an overwhelming pro-abortion voting record, even opposing a ban on partial birth abortion, a procedure so heinous and repulsive it's difficult even to describe. And as Attorney General of California, he used his position to advance the pro-abortion cause. On top of that, he has showed a disturbing tendency to use his position to attack freedom of religion and freedom of conscience. As California Attorney General, he sued an order of nuns who care for the elderly poor to try to force them to offer health insurance benefits that violate their faith. That's right. he thought it a good use of his time as Attorney General to sue an order of nuns who care for the elderly poor. He also enthusiastically sought to enforce a California law that forced crisis pregnancy centers to advertise abortion services. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, which overturned the California law because it violated the free speech protection of the First Amendment. Mr. President, it is bad to support evils like abortion. It is worse to not only support an evil, but to attempt to force others to participate in it in violation of their consciences. I know the President is a man of faith, which makes it particularly perplexing why he would choose to nominate an individual who has used his position to attack freedom of religion and freedom of conscience. As head of the Department of Health and Human Services, Mr. Becerra would have the ability to not only push an extremist abortion agenda, but to roll back important progress made to protect individuals' conscience rights. I'm disappointed by the President's choice. Javier Becerra's pro-abortion views do not represent the views of a majority of Americans. I'm also very disappointed by the announcement that President Biden will overturn the Mexico City policy, which protects taxpayer dollars from being used to finance abortion in other countries. This is not a unifying action. Americans were not clamoring to have their tax dollars start supporting abortions abroad. This is only a priority for the pro-abortion lobby. Mr. President, as I said, I am disappointed in the President's actions, and going forward, I hope he will not let his presidency be hijacked by abortion extremists. But whatever policies this administration pursues, I and many of my colleagues will continue to work to promote a culture of life in this country. The arc, Mr. President, of the moral universe is long, but I believe it does bend toward justice. And I look forward to the day that we will secure justice for unborn human beings by ensuring that they are protected. Mr. President, I yield the floor.